Hello and welcome to North Country Matters. My name is Donna Seymour. I'm a member of the St. Lawrence County League of Women Voters, one of the civic partners for our show. Today, my guest is Erin Griffin. Erin is the director of the North Country Clean Energy Hub, and she also works at the Adirondack North Country Association, otherwise known as ANCA. It's the lead organization for the North Country Clean Energy Hub. Erin, welcome to North Country Matters. I am looking forward to our discussion about the hub.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. So let's start out, Erin, by asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself and the work you do for ANCA.
Sure. Yeah, so like you said, I work for ANCA on our clean energy team. So ANCA has four different program areas: food systems, diversity, equity, and inclusion, entrepreneurial economy, and then clean energy. And so I'm part of the clean energy team, and we work with local governments and small businesses and nonprofits, and through the hub with residents. So ANCA is the lead contractor for NYSERDA's Regional Clean Energy Hub program, and so that it's through ANCA, but it's a program that spans larger than across multiple partners. So, yeah, that's what I do.
Okay, great. So let's remind folks a little bit about what NYSERDA is and the work it's doing, because it's an absolutely critical agency here in New York as we transition to a clean energy future, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so NYSERDA is an agency of New York State. It's the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. There's lots of acronyms in the energy world. And NYSERDA is funded in large part by a tax on everyone's electricity bills. So all of us are paying into NYSERDA and the programs that they offer, and they work across the state to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, accelerate economic growth, improve the quality of life for all New Yorkers. And they have programs that span across like modernizing the grid, or working with industry, to working with residents and helping people access rebates and incentives. And they're one of the main ways that the funding from the Inflation Reduction Act is coming down to reach New Yorkers too. So they have a lot of different programs that they oversee.
A few years ago, we actually added solar panels to our house, and we got a NYSERDA grant as part of the overall funding rebates that we got through tax incentives and, of course, the direct grant from NYSERDA. So I'm very familiar with their work. New York State is broken into 10 regions in the statewide Clean Energy Hub. And so tell us about the counties that are located in the North Country region, if you would.
Yeah, sure. So there's 12 clean energy hubs across the state. That's because New York City is split into three because it's New York City. But for the North Country Clean Energy Hub, we serve Clinton, Essex, Franklin, St. Lawrence, Hamilton, Jefferson, and Lewis counties. So, which, well, I learned recently is 23% of New York State. So it's almost a quarter of the geography of New York State.
Right, but of course that's nowhere, it doesn't even begin to touch how sparsely populated we are up here. So
Yes.
it's a big
Yeah,
geographic area, but not lots of people. So
exactly.
Erin, give us a little thumbnail sketch of what and who the North Country Clean Energy Hub is and what your mission is, so people can kind of understand what it is that you are attempting to do through this program.
Yeah, sure. So the Hub is a team of organizations that is working to help people in the North Country make their homes safer and more affordable and more efficient. And every hub across the state is a network of organizations that serve the whole region. I don't think any one organization in the North Country could serve this vast area. So our team and our partners are so critical. So the hub team is Cornell Cooperative Extension of Jefferson County, Cornell Cooperative Extension of St. Lawrence County, SUNY Canton, and then ANCA. So we are all working together to kind of make this program happen. And the main like core of what the hub does is we have energy advisors that serve all of those 7 counties I mentioned. And so if you live in the North Country and you have questions about your energy bill, or you want to make your home more efficient, or you want to figure out how to use tax credits, or anything having to do with energy, you have an energy advisor that you can reach out to for free, who can talk with you, make suggestions, help get you through programs. There's some areas of the North Country where these statewide programs just don't work perfectly for a variety of reasons. So it's really helpful to have someone who kind of understands how they work, has some other people to reach out to just to make sure people don't fall through the cracks, and are able to utilize these. So the energy advisors are out in the community. They go to outreach events. They hold presentations and workshops. They're available for any community that would like to, invite them to an event or something that's going on. So that's really the core of what we do, is that one-on-one support for residents, renters, homeowners, small businesses who want to figure out this landscape of energy options. It can be really confusing and overwhelming to figure out what you qualify for and what may work for you, and what does this contractor quote mean, and is this a scam? And it's a complicated landscape to navigate, and not everyone has the time to research all of this and figure it out for themselves. So that's what we are here to support.
You make a really good point about it being a complicated landscape. As you know, a lot of North Country houses and rural New York houses are substandard. They're not well insulated. Maybe the
Yes.
windows are old. They leak a lot of energy. Their heating systems are certainly have not been modernized in many years in many cases. So having somebody kind of take you by the hand and walk through this process is really going to be important, isn't it?
Yeah, and you make really good points about what our building stock is like in the North Country. There's a lot of, talk across the state of homes being heat pump ready, and a lot of homes we have in the North Country are not. It's really important, if you're thinking about a heat pump or interested in one, that you make sure your home is insulated first. It really affects the type of system that will be installed. Not to mention that insulating your home saves you money on your heating bills too. So yeah, and that's really where we need to start in the North Country. And like you said too, a lot of homes, you can't insulate a home if there's a health and safety issue, or mold, or asbestos, or a leaky roof, or things like that. And so that's where a lot of folks are starting. And we do our best to try and connect folks to resources to help them kind of address some of those issues, so they can then move forward with the efficiency and the electrification work.
Okay, thanks. So there's several key components to the work that the Clean Energy Hub is doing here at the North Country. Let's talk about some of those and who they're designed to help.
Yeah, our main focus is working with folks who need the help the most. So low-income families is really our primary audience. So that, and a lot of those previous things that I mentioned of kind of dealing with some deferred maintenance and other home upgrades are kind of the things that we have to do first. And sometimes those can be the hardest things to find other funding for too. So it's tricky, but that's where we start. But we also work with everyone too. So we will still work with folks with questions about electric vehicles, or heat pumps, or solar, or things like that may, unfortunately, at this point, not be quite as accessible to a low-income household, but it's part of kind of the direction things are moving. And so that we help folks with those things as well.
Yeah, and another thing I think that people often feel like they need help with is finding qualified contractors who are
Yes.
reputable, because as you say, there's a lot of fly-by-night companies who want to take advantage of the federal money that's out there, and they can't waste the money that they're getting, because if they do, it's gone forever and they haven't gotten what they needed done with their house.
Yeah, and yeah, the North Country, the building contractors we have are really busy. So getting on those wait lists as part of it and kind of expecting some of those wait times as part of it. And then I also do, have a lot of empathy for a lot of our contractors in the region because they're small. Like for the most part, it's one or two people. Maybe they have one crew. They're doing most of their admin or have a family member that's doing their paperwork and stuff in the evenings or the weekends. And that makes it really hard to access some of these state programs and federal programs. They're set up to help contractors, but if you don't have an admin staff or you're just not that big of a team, it can be really hard to jump through some of those hoops. So we actually assist contractors with that too. As kind of they have their own landscape of programs to navigate to make sure that people in the North Country have access to these programs.
Yeah. So there's a number of kind of the common energy opportunities that the Clean Energy Hub can help people with. Let's kind of just go through those and give folks a little sense of what they might be looking at in terms of need, and then they can kind of prioritize what they have to do first.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of this, like if you come to the hub and talk to an energy advisor, like these will all be tailored to you. So the ones that I'll mention are kind of just like some common ones that we see a lot, but just know that if you reach out to the hub, like this response will be tailored to your situation. Really the first place to start is efficiency. And one of the main programs that we refer people to is NYSERDA's Empower Plus program. And if you income qualify for this program, you can have $10,000 of work done on your home, like match free. You don't have to contribute anything. And the way that program works is a contractor will come and do an energy audit on your home. So they'll look at what the insulation is like and what your appliances are like and where the energy is going and your bills and all of that. And they'll make a recommendation for the most energy saving projects that can be done for that home. And a lot of times that's things like insulating the attic or insulating the basement. A lot of people will sometimes first think to things like doors and windows because we see those a lot and you can feel, if you don't have great windows, that drafts that are coming in. But for the most part, we don't really see our attic or basements as much, but insulating those can make an even bigger impact on the overall efficiency of the home. So
let me just interrupt for just a second there and tell you a little personal story. Our house is almost 200 years old, so you can imagine over the years how many upgrades we've had to make to all the things you just talked about. It turned out one of the last things we did was insulating the basement with spray foam, and that was the biggest bang for our bucks. We got such an immediate payback from that. It was amazing and it was not certainly the first thing we thought of. We like you just said, we thought of doors and windows, and it was the basement that actually made the biggest difference.
Yeah. And so that's why that starting with that energy audit can be really important because it can kind of line out those projects for you of what's going to make the biggest difference in terms of your comfort and your bills kind of moving forward. So that the Empower Plus program is a really big one. And the other ones we also send folks to like HEAP and weatherization for heating assistance for households that income qualify. We also get a lot of questions about heat pumps. So the New York State Clean Heat Program is New York State's incentive program for heat pumps. And so we send folks that direction. And then there's also a lot of questions just around the federal tax credits now too, which are kind of continuing to roll out and can apply to, well, a household has to have that tax liability to be able to use them, which is something to remember. If you don't really pay much in taxes, then these tax credits won't work for you. But if you do, and you've done an energy efficiency project or a clean energy project, that's something that we can kind of point folks in the right direction also. But there's lots of others out there. Those are just some of the like most common ones that we hear questions about.
Right, but really what people have to do is they have to bring their situation to your energy
Yep,
advisor, and then that's when they can hone in on the particular things that might be the most efficient for each
yep,
particular homeowner or business, because you also help
exactly.
businesses with their energy needs as well, right?
Yes. Yes, we do. Yeah, and that the suite of programs available to small businesses is different than the ones available to homeowners. So they're all there. It's all its own little world of opportunities available to folks.
Well, one of the things that we know is that every drop of energy you don't use because your house is efficient or your building is efficient is an erg of energy you're not going to have to pay for in the future either. And as prices escalate, efficiency and insulation is really the biggest bang for your buck, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I feel like it's not as like fun to talk about for some people as solar or some of this other stuff, but it's really like the foundation of where we have to start. And yeah, it'll make a big difference too, just moving forward as the demand, electrical demand increases. If we all start with that place of efficiency, it'll kind of reduce that overall demand too, which makes a difference for the overall grid. It makes a difference for individual homeowners too.
Right, and I know that there's been a lot of talk lately about making the grid more efficient because as people move to electric vehicles and other kinds of heat pumps and things like that, we're going to need to make sure we have a very stable electrical supply in order to meet that growing need, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's like another thing to take into consideration depending on where you are in the North Country. Like if you're in a place that loses power all the time, that's going to influence your decision for heating and things like that differently than if you're in a place that doesn't. And, we've had a lot more storms the past few years and we'll continue to see more storms. So that's another thing that we also understand that like not every house in the North Country is a perfect fit for full electrification depending on what you have in place. A lot of people might switch to a heat pump but keep a wood stove or keep their backup boiler or something like that to have as a backup system. So if you are in a place where you might lose power, if you're out in a back road somewhere, that's one of the last places to get power switched back on after a storm, that that you'll be okay.
Right, and again, that's something that the energy advisors can help you with is really to assess what your risks are, right?
Yeah. Yep. And I feel like most homeowners kind of come in with that awareness, like that's your one of your primary considerations when you're thinking about these things is you want to make sure that your home stays safe and comfortable, like no matter what happens where you are. Everyone is kind of the expert of their own backyard.
Right. And you also have some volunteer opportunities for folks who want to do more. Tell us a little bit about what those opportunities are.
Yeah, so we offer a program called the Energy Navigator Program, and that is run through Cornell Cooperative Extension. And that's similar to like if you've heard of the Master Gardener program. It's a course where you can sign up. It's mostly virtual with some in-person opportunities. And it's a learning opportunity to learn more about all the stuff that we've talked about today. Clean energy, energy efficiency, things you can do in your home, what the kind of this whole landscape of clean energy looks like in the North Country, how to read your energy bill, all things like that. And the purpose of it is kind of once you go through this training, you're kind of equipped like a mini energy advisor where you can talk to your friends and your
Mhm.
neighbors and your community about things like this and kind of help help answer some of these questions and then also send folks to the energy advisors too. And so it kind of sets you up to serve in that volunteer role in your community to help people kind of navigate this stuff.
I had a question about 10 days ago from someone I was chatting with about getting replacement windows. And so, if I'd had this information, it would have been easier for me to answer that question. But I did suggest they go to NYSERDA. So next time
Yeah,
I see them, I'll also send them to you. So one of the
nice.
one of the keys to a clean energy future is having a trained workforce that's able to do the jobs we need to retrofit our homes and buildings and build the new infrastructure we need to create and transmit clean energy where it needs to go. So what can the Clean Energy do Hub do to help create that workforce?
Yeah, this is something we think a lot about because right now, one of the things really holding back a lot of this work in the North Country is the availability of contractors and especially energy efficiency contractors and those that do the energy audits of your home. So there's a couple things that we're doing through our hub staff. We um, work with contractors to help them use some of these state programs. We have a contractor job board on our website where they can list open positions. All contractors are like always trying to hire all the time. And also one of our partners, SUNY Canton, is really gearing up to offer a lot of related clean energy trainings for contractors and for other folks in the North Country. They've already offered solar trainings. There's going to be more solar installation trainings coming up, as well as EV mechanic technician training, which we're really excited about because especially as there's more talk of electric school buses, and there's going to be a need for technicians too. So they're putting together those trainings, and then they're possibly looking at doing energy auditor trainings too. So really trying to provide and also provide some like local opportunities. First of all, there aren't really a lot of other places in the North Country where you can access these trainings, and it's expensive for contractors or school districts or whoever to send their staff out of the region to access a training, and then also help just defray some of the costs associated with it too. So yeah, that's kind of we think about the workforce issue a lot because it's one of the things we really need to help streamline so we can see more of this work happening in the North Country.
I know our local BOCES has been doing a lot with their tech students and trying to get them up to speed on some of these new electrical job opportunities that you're talking
Yeah.
about, because whether it's hooking up a solar system or figuring out how to retrofit a house for a heat pump, those are all jobs that are going to require people to understand how electricity works and how to make all these systems integrate with what you already have, aren't they?
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
So one of the things, Erin, that I wanted to chat with you about is you're you're doing the North Country, but the other 11 hubs are all doing the same thing around the state. So what you have described is pretty much what anybody around the state could access with their own local clean energy hub, isn't it?
Yes, especially with the energy advisors. Like all the hubs are kind of tailored to the needs of their region a little bit, but all the hubs have energy advisors. They're all working one-on-one with residents and small businesses. So no matter where you are in New York State, you have an energy advisor to reach out to.
And I will actually put at the end of this a slide that shows who the contact people are here in the North Country, because you have several energy advisors you're already working with in this region, don't you? Have.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep, we do.
So final thoughts as we wrap up, Erin. What would you what's your elevator speech? What would your key points that you would tell somebody to say, this is what we can do for you and don't be afraid to call?
Yeah, I think it's normal for people to feel really overwhelmed with this stuff and like not know where to start. You might have heard of some programs, you might have heard of some of these things, but you're not sure what to believe. You don't like know how to sort through everything. Maybe you got a mailer for something in the mail. You're like, what is this? I don't understand the solar. There's just a lot of information out there, and it's hard to know who to trust, and it's hard to know who is like working in your best interest. And so I think as people are encountering this and kind of trying to figure out how to wade through what works best for them, we can really be a resource to help with that, because while we are connecting people to state programs, we're really working to help people figure out what's best for them too. And we understand that not everywhere in the North Country is a perfect fit for all of this technology. So that's really our main purpose, is just helping the North Country benefit from this transition to clean energy in a way that works for the North Country. So that's what That's what I'm hoping, it's not even been 2 years that we've been up and running as the hub. It's actually only been a little over 1 year that we've been fully staffed. So we're still getting our name out there, and the word is still spreading. So I think, and I think most importantly, we're still building trust with people, because we are new and we know that there's a lot of companies out there acting not in the best interest of people. So I think the more that we can kind of spread the word that like we are working on behalf of the North Country and we're here to really support people with what they need as related to energy, the more successful we'll be.
Well, I hope this North Country Matters segment is going to help people to understand that. I will tell you that a few years ago, when we started looking into solar for our house, it was as a result of a North Country Matters I did with Canton's Solarized Canton's project. And after I heard
Nice.
what those people had to say, I felt like I had enough information to start to go forward. And you're right, it can be a very confusing process, especially right now with so many programs out there as a result of some of the new legislation, both federally and statewide. So
Yes.
this is a great introduction to that, and I hope you get lots of phone calls after
Thank you.
after this.
I
And
hope so too.
I will certainly put all the links in our show notes so people will know how to get a hold of you. And thank you so much for coming in and walking us through this landscape, because this is the future. And if we want to have as efficient an energy future as we can, we need to start with the basics. And you've given us a great introduction to those basics, Erin. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
All right. So these conversations are a production of North Country Matters. This show is a civic collaboration between the League of Women Voters of St. Lawrence County and the Potsdam Public Library. Until next time, remember, our North Country matters.